Hello everyone, and welcome back to a new episode of SHENZHEN I. It's just me today. Rose, I think, was here for 2 puzzles, right? But she's not anymore. It's just me again. So like, I would be happy to receive feedback about like what you guys think of the episodes she's here versus when she's not. Like, we got some positive feedback on Dungeon Crawl, but it's always nice to hear what you guys think about anything in general, but in particular, like, I don't know, she isn't on much. It's a special feature, so I'd be happy to hear about it. On the other hand, like, I have a fairly long backlog, and I suspect that by the time this episode goes live, I'll probably be done with all the puzzles, so, maybe it won't matter so much after all. Let's see, what did we do? We did the traffic signal last episode. Let's go review that one. It looked pretty. Spoilers, if you didn't watch the last episode, we finished it. So we did it with 2 chips. And this one, we were so close to shrinking it, right? Yeah, just couldn't quite do it. I'm sure you can, but I don't know how. How much do these gates cost? They cost 1 each. So, we could have done something like she was talking about, where we use like an and not on this, so that like if this is high, if emergency is high, then the lights are all low, no matter what. And that would let us save, like, we wouldn't have to move a 0 when the emergency is on, right? But that would only let us save $2 here, and we'd have to spend quite a lot over here throwing 1 AND gate in front of each of these, as well as a not. So we'd be adding $4 to save 2. Not really worthwhile, unless we were trying for like lowest number of lines of code or something. Anyway, on to a new puzzle. A meat-based printer. A meat-based printer. So we saw that. I think we went and looked at the thing near the end of the last episode. I don't remember. The increase in extreme weather events across the globe has resulted in the need for innovations in food security. Food security? I guess that's not like protecting your food with guns, but like making sure everyone has a secure access to food, right? Okay. Recent advances in nutritional technology have allowed for a variety of meat-like products to be assembled out of a common substrate. A portable meat production station could be an effective solution in the recovery period after initial emergency supplies have been used. I have sourced some initial meat product designs that we can use to get started. Honestly, doesn't seem like a terrible idea. Not sure I'd put this stuff in my mouth no matter how dire the emergency. Wow. Oh, Carl. I think he is wrong. I think it's cool. Alright, so what are we up to? We have a few inputs, 1 input and a ton of outputs, right? Okay, so what's the deal? Keypad is an XBus input connected to a keypad. Extrude, oh gross, is a simple output connected to a meat extruder. Okay. Valves 0 through 2 are simple outputs connected to valves in the meat extruder that control whether lean mix or fat mix is extruded. When a valve value is available from the keypad, read it and assemble the corresponding meat specification, which are found in a page in the blah blah blah. Okay. 1 is cutlet, 2 is steak, 3 is bacon. Okay. So we're gonna get in a number, and then we'll wake up and produce the corresponding meat, and that'll be that. Okay. So let's make sure we know. Yeah. Okay. This is actually reasonably clear. So when we when we get a number, we're going to turn on valve for exactly 6 ticks, and we'll use some special thing we'll turn each of the, what are they called? We'll turn on the extruder, and then we'll turn on each of the valves according to the defined program. Now, So how wide is this meat? 7, right? I guess I said 6 earlier, but it's 7. So... How exactly do we encode all of this? Like, controlling the extruder is easy, obviously. But somehow we have to put the memory... We have to have... in our memory, like, all of the patterns of meat that there are. Or else, so something that we could try to do is, like, figure out a function that we could compute for a given, like, you know, if we're producing, like, okay, so this one, we could produce pretty easily without any RAM, right? We could just turn on all the things separately for 7 cycles. So you don't really need any RAM for that. And this one, you don't really need anything too clever for. Maybe this one you could do with a RAM? I don't know. It seems like it actually would be pretty easy to encode, right? You would just set 0 and 2 high, and then do a few gens on 2, and then set them all low again, right? So that seems pretty doable. And here, again, it's a little bit tricky to do these, like, I don't know. I'm not sure exactly how to do that, but I think we could probably do each of these in a single controller without using any RAM. And using RAM would not make it particularly easier. Well, I say RAM, ROM, of course. Well, alright. So let's assume for the moment that we will have... Oh, interesting. I was thinking we were going to use pulses and gens, but we don't have 3 simple outputs, of course, right? These are simple outputs? Yes. So it seems the obvious thing to do is like this. And then have each of these connect to a different subcontroller that is for making that kind of meat. But it's a little bit tricky to, well, no, I guess it's not. Oh. Well, so this actually sort of in some ways makes it simpler, doesn't it? Because then all this is a series of 7 numbers, right? This is 0, this is 111, this is 10, 111, 10, 111, 10, basically, right? And I mean, when we put it that way, it seems like the kind of thing that's super easy to encode in a RAM chip, right? Just, but I'm not, I don't know. If we had 1 RAM chip for each kind of meat, which would be excessive, we don't need quite that much. We could make do with just 2 RAM chips, because each one has 14 memory and we need only 7. It might be a little trickier to wire up, so the simple thing would be to have 3 RAM chips. But then you kind of need 3 microcontrollers for reading from them all, right? And at any rate, we couldn't... Each RAM chip that we have requires 2 connections, right? You have no, that's not true because you could. I was thinking you'd use one read pointer for 0 through 7, and another for 0 through 6, and another for 7 through 13. But you could just start by moving the pointer a bit. So that's a thing we could do. I'm not sure if that ends up, being cheaper or more expensive. But let's imagine first that we do it with one controller for each of these guys, okay? Like so. So I was thinking about, but I don't think I mentioned, was I was thinking about maybe having another one of these guys where we just send a number in here, and we send either 110 or 100, and it wakes up. Yeah, I know it's all wrong. It sends a signal to each of these chips is checking their P0 line to see, hey, should I wake up and make some meat? So that's one way we could activate them, but and it saves I/O pins on the main controller to do things that way, compared to connecting to each of them individually. But then these guys need extra instructions for sleeping, checking, and so on. Whereas, of course, they can also all share a single X bus line in here. They don't have to be different. Which means that we could have, say, the master controller be responsible for sending the final 0. Well, okay, so let's imagine that we've wired this all up correctly. And I just want to write the code for one of these guys and confirm that it fits and is easy to do and all that. So let's say that this one is the one responsible for bacon, the easiest one. Actually, that one's so easy, right? We just move. We want 0, 1, and 2. I only remember seeing 2 different kinds of meat. What are the 3 valves? Oh, right. We set each valve to high or low. Got it. So what is lean mix is low, and lean mix is the dark one. So dark is low, bright is high. Okay. So to make bacon, we set valve 0 to low, and 0 is the one at 100, so we're going to move 11 to X2, sleep for 7, and then move 0 to X2. So this is something that we could use a gen for, except you're not allowed to gen for XBus. So let's confirm that we do, in fact, make like bacon in this way. No? Oh, of course. Each cycle, we go back to being reactivated. But the point is that valve 0 is low. Bacon is which one? 3. So let's skip forward in the production to when we get a 3, just to be clear. Here. And yes, we're producing everything we want except the extrude here, which is fine. But okay, so the bacon one's really easy. And again, this move 0, whatever, we might be able to do away with that. Let me clarify what I mean here by sort of connecting these all up to the same thing. And adding a third chip here. So they all write to the same place, and there's like a bridge here that the main controller, who probably doesn't need to be a large chip, he could be smaller, but for now we'll draw him like this. Oh no, he does need to, because he needs to have 3 X-Bus connections and 2 simple connections, right? What? Oh, keypad's an X-Bus input. Oh. Right. Well, that means that we can't have the master connect to this guy directly, right? Right. I made a bad. I was thinking that we just need to move 7 sets of numbers, right? To, like, these things, and you can do that in 7 instructions. But you can't, because you have to put sleeps in. You can't do it with gens. So it would be 14 instructions. And plus like 2 to read the X-Bus input. Means you can't even fit all that on a single chip easily. This one can, because there's no transitions. But here, these two you can't really, right? This leads me to connect up with something I mentioned earlier, which is that a single ROM chip can contain the meat definition for 2 kinds of meat. And we have 1 kind of meat that we don't need ROM for, because it's so simple. But these 2 are complicated enough that we can't easily encode them as actual code on a microcontroller. So we could use 1 ROM chip that has the meat definitions for these, and probably a single microcontroller that reads from these 2 and is responsible for outputting the meat for both of those, for looping through the whole, through half of the ROM. Okay, so I think that that's probably the plan, is to have 2 meat subcontrollers, one that specializes for bacon and the other one that's for like cutlets and steak, which reads in from ROM. Yeah. Okay. Which sort of frees up an X-Bus input or port on this main chip so that he could connect to this muxer if he needed to, right? Not sure exactly like how that's going to work, but it's something we could try. Alright, so important thing, bacon goes down here. Whatever. X3. And we'll, I guess, leave the move 0 here for now. Maybe we can move it into this one, maybe we can't. The bacon is going way down here because we need more space for the guy who's dealing with a bunch of ROM garbage. And it just seems like there's more of it up here. But okay, we probably don't need this bridge, I'm guessing. Alright, so let's write the program for this guy. So basically what he does is where exactly is his ROM gonna live? You know what, actually, I think it's better for him to be like this. With his ROM living like right here. Now the ROM and the RAM each cost the same, so that's a little weird, but okay, sure. Let's just what exactly? Oh, okay, so one question I actually don't know the answer to is, what happens if you wire an X-Bus pin up to multiple places? Oh, well, it can't connect to itself. But what I'm wondering is, like, what if I do this? I think it's fine. They're all connected, right? As long as this guy never reads from that port, he doesn't mind. Well, obviously, so I wouldn't do it that way, right? I would do, like, what am I even saying? I'm trying to find a way to get these two to connect here. Or this connects here. I don't want to, like, have to loop this one all the way back, and I don't know exactly why I think moving through here is going to help me with that problem. It doesn't seem like it really is. Okay, well. So let's just move this up so that it's simpler. And in fact, just squadge it right in there. So there's your connection to that one. Here's your connection to this one. Is extrude a simple output? Oh, they're labeled. How nice. Yes, it is. Okay. And it might be nice to get connected in here. What is this all about? Oh, that's going... Let's actually nudge this all over just a hair. So that this guy will have room to connect to this if we decide that that turns out to be a good idea. So what other wiring do we have to do? Well, we want to wire X1 up here. I think this doesn't need... Oh, right, it needs to be large because we're using all these dang ports, right. X0 goes here. And now it's a bit tricky to get this this pin out, isn't it? Wait, do I need to? What do I need to get out? Oh. Wait, I don't need to get that out. It's this one, X2. Wait, no, X2 goes here. What? I want to get here somehow. But I don't have a port for it. Right, because this isn't a simple input, it's an XBus input. So I don't have an XBus input available to get here. Alright, well maybe some of this moving shit around that I did was not necessary as it turns out. Oh well. Also... we seem to be connected to this guy twice. For no reason. I guess one of them was meant to go over here, huh? So... I think that means that we could move each of these lines up one to make room for this one, basically. Yeah. Right, we wire this in as forgiving a way as we can to here. We wire this. Oops. Got in the way there, didn't I? Can we just scoot over? Yeah, we can, right? No. Yeah, I guess we can. This is like not exactly the best urban planning I've ever done. So we can do that to get this in. This P0 we can't connect to anything, but we don't actually need it, so that's fine. So there, there, there. Oops. Oh. And now we can go over and out to the extruder and wire this up to here. Well, it doesn't look so bad. now that I look at it. I was worried it was turning into an abomination, and there's a lot of wires, but they're not doing anything too messy. Alright. So, let's write the program for this guy. And so, first question, well, all right. What are we doing? It should be reasonably simple, right? We're sleeping on x3, and then we're going to test x3 for 0. If it's 0, we'll say that that means cutlets and 1 means steak. Oh, wait, that's dumb. This is a thing that I've done a number of times, is try to say, like, sort of define an enum of my own and say, oh, state 1 will mean this, state 2 will mean that. And then later I build in a translation layer where I turn 1 into something meaningful and 2 into something meaningful. But, like, in a recent episode with Rose, I tried to do that, right? The traffic controller, I tried to say, like, oh, will we be in cycle 0 or cycle 1 or cycle 2 or whatever. But, like, just being in cycle 100 was way simpler, because you just use whatever input you're going to need to feed into this and call that the stage number. They don't have to be sequential numbers. And here, also, we have a more meaningful number than 0, 1, or 2. We can just directly move x1 into, not x1, x3 into x1. Just basically have the controller tell us, hey, which RAM port should I read, or where should I start reading the ROM? And then we'll just start doing stuff, which is basically move from x0, I think? Yes. Into x2. Sleep 1. And then we're going to test whether the address port, which is x1, is either 0 or 7. And if either of those things are true, we need to... Wait. Well... I was going to say if either of them are true, move a 0 here. But actually, I guess that what I really mean is... if neither of them are true, we need to jump back to the top of the loop. So x0 is the data value. So here's the loop. If we didn't get to the end of what we were reading, then jump loop. And I think that's it. Otherwise, we fall through to the bottom, and we sleep for a new input. We're not going to shut this guy off. We're going to let this guy be in charge of it. And we have enough instructions, we could do it over here. But it'll be one less line of code if we can do it twice over here. If we can do it once over here instead of once here and once here. Right? So, wait. Well, this guy doesn't need to do anything. Why does this even exist? Just write directly to this thing. Alright, so the wiring could have been a bit simpler. Right? We didn't need quite as complicated a bypass scenario. But I think the thing to do is basically the following, right? We sleep x on x0, move x0 into ACK. I think ACK and DAT are basically the same here. We test equal. Can we do better than 3 test equals? Or I guess we would need 3. Maybe? All right, so what are the inputs that we're getting? Is there some kind of clever multiplication or something we can do to cause us to send? So what are the values we need to send to this guy? Either, oh yeah, we need to send weird-ass values like 7 or 0, right? And then to the other one, we need to send 10. Yeah, I don't think that's going to be super easy. So let's test equal ACK for 1, which is cutlets, which we'll put in the left half here. If so, we'll just move a 0 to, is x2, I believe? Yes. And then test equal ACK for 2, which is the steak. We'll move a 7 to x2. And lastly, we'll test whether it's 3. And if so, move 10 to x3. And then in either case, we'll sleep for 7 and move a 0 to x3. And I think that should be it. We need obviously to write these. But I think that that's pretty simple. Let's see if we get bacon right this way. Right, so we should write a bunch of zeros. Yes, we're writing zeros the hard way. But here comes a request for bacon, which we didn't have. Oh, I need to also. So this sleep 7 could instead be a gen 100 on gen P1 70. Then we don't need the sleep either. Move 0 x3. Yes, that's correct. We still need to turn off the valves. So this will have the effect of sleeping, but also do some other stuff. So we put out some sort of awful meat, but there we go. The bacon is wrong. We moved the wrong value, right? We need to have two things be high. So it should be 11, not 10. Yeah, there we go. Look at that beautiful bacon. Doesn't that look delicious? Don't you just want to eat it right up? All right, great. So now we just need to program these wrong values and we'll be set. Oops. I thought this would alt-tab me somehow. Just drag the screen over there. Because that's how I do it, right? But wrong mouse inputs. Okay, so what exactly are we writing? It's 111, 0. And then alternating 10 and 111 for a while. Ten, 111, 10, 111. Wait, I made a mistake. No, these are high. So it's alternating, it's 111, then alternating 10 and 0. And it's symmetric, so we can just do that. So let's see if we've managed to make the cutlet style meats properly. Those are on 1. Of course not. I got the middle ones wrong. Why did I get the middle ones wrong? Right, because it's not 10, it's 101. Good lord. How did they ever let me get an engineering degree? I ask you. Can't even remember a simple number for half a second. There we go. Cutlets. Made to order. And we just need to write this one now, which is 0 with a couple 10s in the middle. Nice and easy, don't have to type very many numbers. And go! Yeah, that's pretty good. I'm pretty happy with this solution. It's maybe not the best it could possibly have been, but it's pretty nice. We seem to be at a pretty standard place on the curve. A number of people figured out how to do it with a bit less power. But we figured out how to do it with a bit less code for some reason. Is there any obvious improvements we could make here? How much code is this guy actually using? Because it looks to me like he's using 10, right? 10. That's an important number, because this line here, is almost one we don't need. Almost. I was thinking we could remove that line and also sever this guy's connection to here. And that would let us replace this with a standard MC4000. And just add the line to this guy to say, hey, put a 0 on the output. But we can't, because this guy is in charge of bacon all by himself. So A, he needs access to this to write out the bacon signals, and B, there's no bacon controller we can add this line of code to. So it seems like in the current design, we need a big chip here. Yeah, not a lot better we can do about that, I think. Alright. I think that this is a design that I'm happy enough with that I'm not going to try to figure out how to do better. Let's see what the coworkers have to say. Sampled some of the meats and found them all quite delicious. Carl should give it a try. I agree, it's better than I expected. Make me a fish and chips robot and then we'll talk. So Carl is not convinced. Oh well, that's not a surprise. You guys know Carl. Well, you did it! You stuck around and got to the end of another puzzle. Well done. So, stick around and join me tomorrow for another one. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.